Okay, I want to talk about Indiana because the Indiana basketball team, the men's basketball team, went to Nebraska and lost in destructive and concerning fashion. Purdue's loss, I believe, was good. It was a good loss. Indiana had a very, very bad loss, and it's starting to make me wonder if we need to alter the perception of Indiana moving forward and the expectations for Indiana moving forward. I'm concerned. I'm appalled. I'm wondering if the season isn't what it was chalked up to be. Miles Rice had 20. Malik Renew had 12. Amor Ballo had 11 rebounds. That's very impressive. I want to touch on, again, the difficulties of Big Ten road games, right? This was a raucous, difficult road environment to deal with, and the Hoosiers honestly handled it fairly well for most of the game. It was tied at 64 with 9 minutes left, and then came the collapse down the stretch, right? And that's where we see a lot of these negatives accentuated and exacerbated late in that game, in that final quarter of the game. It was tied, and then they shot even worse than they had previously, and they collapsed when it mattered most. Indiana across the board. We talked about Purdue struggling to shoot well away from home. Indiana away from home in this game was 35% from the field and 22% from three. Absolutely horrific numbers, right? Now, they have struggled to shoot away from Assembly Hall across the board this season. It's beginning to be an issue at Nebraska. Tough road environment, Big Ten game. It's certainly an upset spot for Nebraska, and they performed exactly the way they should. Indiana shooting under 40% from the field and under 25% from three is borderline unacceptable in games like this, especially knowing that that is indicative of how they may play against stronger opponents. You think about the Purdues of the world. You think about teams like UCLA, right? Oregon has been playing very well early on this season. In those games on the road or at home, if they shoot that poorly, they're going to get blown away by good teams, and that's going to start to alter the mindset about Indiana and start to wonder if they're a good team themselves and if they're a team worthy of that attention themselves. They collapsed when it mattered most. Bryce Williams went off. He fueled a 21-4 run at the end of the game to finish off the Hoosiers. Again, even on the road, tied with 9 minutes left, at least make it competitive. In that moment, at that point, with 9 minutes left in the game, tied, Indiana should be able to pull out a win on the road. That's what that Indiana jersey looks like. That's what that Indiana roster, that's what that Indiana legacy is supposed to be, is tied with 9 minutes left on the road in a major Big Ten game, especially against a supposedly inferior opponent, go out and win it. And they didn't. They completely collapsed. 21-4 run for Nebraska in that final stretch. This team, meaning Indiana, their lack of experience with one another and their general unstable efforts, they're visible in big games and big moments. That's when it comes to the forefront. That's when it is presented at the front of our minds. The expectation shift is potentially what we need to see with Indiana, right? We come into the year with Indiana. This team was very hyped up. This roster was very hyped up. There was a lot of expectations for how they could do and what they would be as a team. Potentially able to do some damage in the Big Ten, potentially able to make the NCAA tournament and do some damage there. Sweet 16 opportunity, IU level team. And this is becoming the type of team that can beat anybody rated below them, but falters and then flounders when tasked with an equal or better opponent. And I call Nebraska an equal or better opponent knowing this game was played on the road. Indiana doesn't have a quality win right now. They don't have a good win. When they played Gonzaga, they collapsed. When they played Louisville, they collapsed. When they played Nebraska, they collapsed. They beat South Carolina, but that's not very much of a quality opponent. Providence is similar to me, not very much of a quality opponent. Indiana doesn't have a good win right now. They beat a lot of bad teams. They beat a lot of average teams. They haven't beaten a team equal or above their strength level, perhaps, and that is something that good teams do. They beat teams better than them, and they beat teams as good as them. Indiana now has had multiple opportunities to do that, right? They went to battle for Atlantis and collapsed. They play Nebraska on the road. They collapse. And Indiana at that point is looking like, again, that team that can beat anyone rated below them, but can't win the big games against good teams. And it's similar to the Indiana Pacers, honestly, and it indicates that there could be an expectation shift that we should see with the Hoosiers where we say, maybe this isn't the Sweet 16 level team that we were hoping for. Maybe this is a team that we want to make the first four, right? Be one of those last teams into the tournament and maybe win a game, right? Or maybe we have to massively shift expectations and call this a rebuild year as they put these transfers onto this roster and sort of try to work from there. This roster and this season going into it as a whole yielded lofty expectations and droves of hype, and this just might not be the year because they can't beat a good team, and they'll have plenty more opportunities moving forward. We talked in the past about what amassing a roster of transfers could do. I struggle to believe that this Indiana team is ready right now to find previously unforeseen levels of success. I don't know if this team right now, with this amount of new coming transfers and incoming talent. I don't know if this team, this program, right, is with Mike Woodson and with this composition of their roster being primarily transfers. Right now, early in the year, I don't think they're ready to succeed at the level that we want them to. Maybe they improve it throughout the year. They probably will, right? And maybe we see that opportunity where they pick off a game against Purdue, right? They beat UCLA, something like that. They pick up a major win, safely put themselves in the tournament, work in that 7 to 10 seed range and win a game, and then maybe that's it. Maybe they get it together completely and go all the way. Or maybe they collapse and can never pick up a quality win for the most part throughout the year and end up as one of the top seeds in the NIT, and it's same old IU, and we start to question whether or not Mike Woodson should still be at the head of the table for the Hoosiers. I'm interested to see how the narrative goes, but right now they don't have a quality win, right? There's a brief lull in the schedule. I believe they play Toledo coming up, Chattanooga perhaps. It's winter break, so IU is going to have a lull in the schedule, a couple easy games there. I know they play Chattanooga next. And then they drop into league play full time, right? And then they have that opportunity where it's Big Ten opponent after Big Ten opponent twice a week, right? Tough games, quality games against quality opponents. You got to pick up a couple quality wins early on to establish a cushion in the Big Ten standings, right? Purdue's 0-1 in the Big Ten, for example, right? Indiana, they're 1-1, I believe. Purdue's 1-1, sorry, because they beat Maryland. But Indiana, right? Pick up some major wins early on. It doesn't have to be good teams. It just has to be conference opponents because we know how difficult conference games can be. Go on the road or even at home, hold the fort down, pick up some wins, give yourself a cushion, and make a statement to the committee and say, yes, make a statement to the committee this early in the year even and say, we can beat a good team. We just did it. We can go on the road. We can go outside of Assembly Hall and beat a good team. They haven't done that yet this year. They're going to have plenty of opportunities throughout Big Ten play. That's what I want to see. Indiana's beaten everyone that's rated, everyone they're favored largely against, they've won those games. Great. Pull off an upset. Beat a team better than you. Beat a team equal to you, right? Go on the road and win. It's not something Indiana has done yet this season. Those things I want to see if we're going to continue to expect them to be a tournament level or Sweet 16 level, second weekend level perhaps team this season. That's what I want to see, truly. I just win a big game. Beat a good team. Go on the road and win. Do something like that to show the world that Indiana is legit and is capable of higher levels of success this season compared to recent years. Otherwise, we're going to just continue to expect this IU team to be the same as it has been under Mike Woodson and have a similar level of success or perhaps lack thereof throughout the year.